And let me be clear, Cred10 is not an anti-AI company. Quite the reverse. I think that if we do this right, creative people will feel more comfortable using AI to be a part of creativity. This technology is not going away. Like we're not going to be effective being monks trying to smash Gutenberg's printing press in the 1400s. I mean, that's not going to work. The technology is here to stay. But what we can do is we can make sure that part of the $4 trillion in value or whatever they say, that researchers are saying that this is going to add to the global economy. Part of that should be paid to creative people.
This is Declan Dunn with the AI Optimist, and that is Eric Burgess, CEO and founder of Cred10.org, a B Corp dedicated to combining creativity and AI ethically, bringing both sides together, AI licensing that works for creative and AI developers of all sizes. More than data, this is about identity, startups, recognizing the value the creative world brings to AI and vice versa. Let's listen to Eric.
This is something that is absolutely essential to our identity as Americans, which I really believe it is, that you can go start your business with something that you can patent, that you can copyright, that you can create, preventing people, small businesses and large businesses alike, from actually being able to be successful. I mean, you're going to see Disney, and you're going to see Warner Brothers. You're going to see big, giant media companies have real problems with this if indeed we go down this path of saying, everything can be stolen now effectively. Well, then just let it go. I mean, stealing at scale is still stealing. So I think that's a really strong feeling that I have about this, and I think people are going to rally against it. And so that's why we started this petition, to be able to get people to sign up and say, we're not trying to attack the administration. We're not trying to slow AI innovation. We're just saying support our Copyright Office in their interpretation, which is that we do need to make sure that people are protected.
The U.S. Copyright Office released Part 3 on generative AI training, the biggest part, out of the blue on May 10th. And the day after, the head of the Copyright Office, Shira Perlmutter, was fired. So we all know that's a mess, but I have Eric Burgess, CEO of Cred10, who's actually working in the AI licensing, really leading the wave. What do you think about, just what's your take on what the document said, and also what might be going on in terms of AI training?
Well, thanks for having me on. The challenge here is there's such drastically different perspectives from AI companies and creative people about this. And this is one of the things we try to do, is to be that puzzle piece to be able to bring them together. Cred10 is designed as a platform to really encourage the agency of creative people in the age of AI. And we need this support from the copyright rules that are enshrined in the Constitution. This is something that I think we can all agree is something that's important, because without copyright giving the power of somebody to actually keep their intellectual property, to spend the time doing this, we really don't have a way for creative people to make any kind of business. And one thing that we really need to think about, as obviously something like this that happens with the firing, it feels very Doge. It feels very much like our AI bro, sort of advisors to the White House have come in and said, get rid of that person, even though it's probably not legal. I'm sure there will be some kind of lawsuit that's happening about that, just like the Librarian of Congress was let go not too long before that. There's some question as to whether or not the legality of the administration making this decision. But we've chosen to focus on the fact that the thing that we can, I think, all share is the idea that it's part of the American institution and the dream that you can start a business yourself, and without intellectual property law, that's again enshrined in the Constitution, people cannot make a living with creating art, and this is going to have an impact on everybody that works in creative fields, not just creative people that are trying to write books or make music or make films for a living, but think of all the studios that are affected by this. Think of the recording industry. Think of all the people that are the ancillary part of the entertainment industry that will be destroyed if indeed we as Jack Dorsey tweeted a few weeks ago, delete all IP law, which, of course, Elon immediately, said he agreed. Well, that sounds like it's wonderful, I suppose, for billionaires that have already, used intellectual property laws to secure their patents. But like if you think this through, this is really something that is crushing the American dream because of the millions and millions of people that are in the creative industry that'll be affected by this in a negative fashion, and it just turns us into China, where there is no respect for copyright, generally speaking. And why would we want to do that? The United States of America is the content capital of the world. We create more fantastic intellectual property than anyone. This is part of the American spirit. And so I feel like if we can agree on the fact that, this is something that is absolutely essential to our identity as Americans, which I really believe it is, that you can go start your business with something that you can patent, that you can copyright, that you can create. We're giving up on the American dream. We're just crushing it and preventing people, small businesses and large businesses alike, from actually being able to be successful. I mean, you're going to see Disney, and you're going to see Warner Brothers. You're going to see big giant media companies have real problems with this if indeed we go down this path of saying, everything can be stolen now effectively. Well, then just let it go. I mean, stealing at scale is still stealing. So I think that's a really strong feeling that I have about this, and I think people are going to rally against it. And so that's why we started this petition, to be able to get people to sign up and say, we're not trying to attack the administration. We're not trying to slow AI innovation. We're just saying support our Copyright Office in their interpretation, which is that we do need to make sure that people are protected. And I can tell you, I used fair use as an excuse to be able to work on a platform 10 years ago that was all about content curation. It barely allowed us to use the fair use rules for curating people's content, which we were sending them links. So we were sending, like audience to them, great stuff. But, this is not going to hold up, I don't think, in the long run. I think the judiciary will protect us, especially considering this is something that is so essential, I think, to our identity as Americans. So.
No, totally. And I will say, like, that document, quite honestly, I haven't really seen, looking at the legal cases and just sort of researching this for my book, I haven't really seen anything in the courts that are basically going to oppose anything being on the internet or socials. I'm using that broadly, but basically that's considered sort of the public internet. Most countries are leaning towards that. And I felt our country was coming in that way. And then this document comes out and says two things that I really thought was powerful and you brought up. And number one, I think the biggest thing was that impact, market dilution. It was really clear. And I've never heard that from either the Copyright Office yet, because they've really been naturally stepping gently into this fray, because really what you're doing to me is the bridge to creativity. The big companies, the Disneys, they have the lawyers, right? The New York Times, everyone is settling into licensing. And I'm really scared that when the US Copyright Office, in what I considered a very positive update that I hope sticks, says that this can't, you have to let the market figure this out with licensing. And that's where I get okay, I can see that. It's already happening all over the place, licensing. But one, how do you actually bring it to the broader masses? And two, what is sort of if this makes sense, is there any way to measure, where your reach ultimately would be able to make you revenue? I know that's super early, but I mean, theoretically, what, because not everybody is going to be able to license their content.
Yeah. No, well, the one of the things that's specifically stated in this document is the rise of, not just licensing agreements with big guys like, Vox Media and, the Washington Post or whatever it is, but that there is actually a platform like CredTent out there that's saying, let's consolidate the work of the little guys. Let's actually let everybody register on the platform, because you can register on CredTent at no cost to you. We can help you opt out, or we can help you license your work. And what we do is we put together all of the work of those small creators into a standard corpus. that we then license out to people, and then we split up the money on the basis of their contributions. We look at success attributes that they can put on, like if they won awards or have they got certified sales figures and what have you, to be able to make sure that we understand the value of their work. We're experts on content valuation, and this is for us one of the unfair advantages we have against the competition that's come into place, which really isn't very interesting. Honestly, most of the competition we have are just people that are trying to do it. They're just trying to build licensing businesses. That's not what CredTent's mission is. CredTent's mission is saying, let's make sure we have agency for creative people. We're a B Corp, and we're focused on making sure we push back 85% of the money to creators so they can actually make some money and survive. Because I can tell you, in 10 years, I don't want everything that happens in the world that's creative to be coming out of algorithmic creativity. We want to make sure that creators have an opportunity. So by consolidating people into that group and making sure that we can pay them out, we are not only are we making sure that creators have an opportunity to be able to make some money on their work and choose to say, I want to opt out or I'd like to license, but we're also trying to make sure that we're actually enabling the startups out in the space that want to challenge big AI to license as well. So, if you're a startup that wants to make sure that you're ethically sourcing your content, you can come on to CredTent and we will license it for a revenue share or for an opportunity to be able to make sure you have access to this content. When you make the money, we'll collect the money from that, and we'll distribute it appropriately to people, because we want to make sure that this is a healthy ecosystem, but it's also an ethical ecosystem. And so, that's one thing that's mentioned. I know it's mentioned specifically in the Copyright Office. That's because we've talked to the Copyright Office. We told them all about CredTent, and early this year I met with them when I was speaking at the NAMM conference for the National Association of Music Merchants. I spoke to them specifically and let them know what we were doing, because somebody needed to come out and solve this problem, to orchestrate the relationship between AI companies and creative folks. And let me be clear, CredTent is not an anti-AI company, quite the reverse. I think that if we do this right, creative people will feel more comfortable using AI to be a part of creativity. This technology is not going away. We're not going to be effective being monks trying to smash Gutenberg's printing press in the 1400s. I mean, that's not going to work. The technology is here to stay. But what we can do is we can make sure that part of the $4 trillion in value, or whatever they say, that researchers are saying that this is going to add to the global economy, part of that should be paid to creative people. And when we see that happen, when people say, hey, this is an ecosystem where we know creators are being paid, creative people will feel more comfortable using these tools. And I see a future where, we have very much personal AI tools that are that's making sure people are compensated, and, it's all handled. We've done this in the recording industry before. What happened when we had, remix culture and sampling? It started as theft. And then we figured out a way to be able to make sure that clearances could happen and people could be compensated when their work is used. And now it's very common to be able to go, hey, I'm going to use, that incredible, drum from When the Levee Breaks by Led Zeppelin, which is in so many songs. Yeah. They're compensated when that happens. We found a way to be able to do that. And that's what CredTent is trying to do, is make sure that we are, ensuring that creative people have an opportunity to be paid or to exclude themselves from this AI revolution. It needs to happen, and if we don't get it done now at this dawn of the age of AI, it's going to be harder and harder to do over time. And so these AI companies that are saying we can't figure all that stuff out, it's like, that's okay, guys, we'll help. We'll help make sure those people get paid.
Eric, where can people get in touch so I can let you go here? Where can we follow up with you?
Yeah, credtent.org. We're live. Again, register your work. Our licensing platform launches again this summer, very, very soon. It's going into beta testing, probably next week. So some people are signing up for it. Some of my game designer friends actually are great people at breaking technology. So they're going in there and using it now. And we do ethical AI conferences and webinars as well, to encourage people, especially students, to use AI in an ethical fashion. So we do a series of webinars on that subject, as well as we going around partnering with schools to be able to future-proof the work of students, but also to help them think about using AI in a way that leans in on the synergy of it and not the slacking. Because if people let AI do their work, they're going to reduce their cognitive skills, and frankly, they're going to lose out on a lot of things that are so important about the creation of art. So, but yeah, cred10.org is the best way to do it. You can find a lot of my writing on Medium as well as Substack, and connect to me on LinkedIn, especially if you're interested in what we're doing, because our goal here is to be the connective tissue in the space. We want to bring people together on this subject, not to vilify AI, just to make it more ethical.